pre-exercise stretching check is essentially a check to see whether there's correct muscle balance prior to exercise. There's three main points of emphasis. The first one being that this is a check, not a stretch. It's not promoting static stretching. It's merely a check to see if there's any areas of additional tension which could be corrected prior to starting your exercise session. The second point of emphasis is to look for asymmetry, so differences right to left, to see if there's any areas of tension which could be corrected prior to starting your exercise. The third point of emphasis is that this promotes muscle balance, not static stretching. It's not a stretch prior to starting. It's simply just a check to make sure there's no additional levels of tension, and if there is, a quick static stretch is performed to decrease any potential asymmetries. Now we start from the center of the body, which potentially has the largest load-bearing capability, so a hip flexor stretch is performed first, simply kneeling and leaning forward so you feel a stretch on the front of the hip. Stretch 2 is the Quadratus Lumborum, muscles that laterally flex the trunk. So this is a great stretch. Often people feel a lot of tension in here when they stretch it or when they check it to start off with. Be as side on as you can and reach with the arm over the top of the body. The next is a Glute Max stretch and ITB. This is a bit of a combination stretch where you can focus on either one. You're on the ground with one leg across the body and maintaining a neutral pelvic position. The Inductor stretch is next. This is a great stretch for runners, any particular sport where you have to change direction as well. These could often be tight or tighter on one side. Can be done in a number of positions. This is a good one with the hips forward, the tailbone tucked under, so the hips are posteriorly rotated. The Quadricep stretch is next. Just a basic old school quad stretch is the simplest form. The hips stay in a neutral position and the foot's taken up towards the glutes at the back with your knees together. The hamstrings is the next main area. Important with this stretch is that if you're doing it in a kneeling position, the toe is pointed forwards. If your toe is brought back, you get an awful lot of calves in this stretch as well. So with the toe pointed forwards, maximising the hamstring stretch, checking and comparing always right and left. The calves are the final area. Now this can be the calf or the plantar fascia or the Achilles. To start off with, a dynamic version is often a good way. Measuring how far you can get your toe out from the box is a good measure of where you should be each time before you start. A good 5 to 10 centimetres is generally acceptable. You can also try a static version. So if the knee's quite straight, you'll focus on more of the gastroc. If you go into more a bent knee version, you'll focus a little bit more on the soleus. So as a general guideline with these, hold each for 5 to 10 seconds, and the goal of course is to make sure you're comparing right side to left side, checking for asymmetries the whole time. If you find one, make sure that you have a bit more of a stretch on the side where there's increased tension.